Good morning. Oh, I'm Deb Miller, and welcome to the home of Unitarian Universalism in Central Washington. If you are a visitor this morning, we are so glad that you are here. We welcome every person of goodwill, just as you are. Excuse me, I've just got a little bit of a cough. I've got to clear my throat every couple seconds here. Whatever body you inhabit, whomever you love, whatever your age, you are welcome here. We invite everyone to join us for coffee and treats after the service, both in Zoom and in person here. For the folks on Zoom, the order of service will be in the chat, and I believe Owen is the host this morning. I saw Owen in the back room. And now, here we go again. Take a moment and greet those around you, especially someone you don't know. So each Sunday we recognize that our fellowship is located on the ancestral land of the Pasquosa, where for thousands of years the Pasquosa have been stewards of this land, fishing, hunting, gathering roots and berries, and practicing cultural traditions. The Pasquosa still live here. I've chose this morning to bring this book that I picked up. It's called Stand in the Light, Native Voices Illuminated by Edward S. Curtis. And I'm just going to read a quote in the back of it from Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce. Treat all men alike. Give them all the same law. Give them an even chance to live and grow. All men are made by the same great spirit chief. They are all brothers. If anyone would like further information about the Pasquosa and our participation in supporting them, you are welcome to go to our website, cascadeuu.org, under Welcome to learn more. So now let us rise in body and spirit and sing. You may be seated. The chalice and flame are a symbol of our congregation gathered in principles and in faith. If you at home have your chalice with you, please join me or join us now in lighting it. Here in the sanctuary, we will speak these words in unison, and I'm hoping they're up on the screen. All right. Out of the flames of fear. Oh, they're not the same ones. All righty then. My script is different. Would you all like to read what's up on the thing? And warmth of love, we gather to seek and seek to share. There you have it. I will read my words too. Thank you. Out of the flames of fear, we rise with courage of our deepest convictions to stand for justice, inclusion, and peace. Out of the flames of scrutiny, we rise to proclaim our faith with hope to heal a fractured and hurting world. Out of the flames of doubt, we rise to embrace the mystery, wonder, and awe of all there is and all that is yet to be. Out of the flames of hate, we rise with the force of love, love that celebrates our shared humanity. Out of the flames, we rise. Thank you. So 2 readings were chosen this morning for our centering. The first is a verse from the Bible, James 2, chapter 26. For just as the body without the spirit is dead, faith without works is also dead. And the second is a reading by Rosemary Bray McNaught. Why are we still talking about inclusivity and diversity when we have done so little to make them real? Why are we still looking pained about the lack of diversity in the denomination? Because diversity, inclusivity is terribly hard, terribly uncomfortable, definitely unsettling, and often quite frustrating. What I know about being inclusive, crossing from culture to culture, learning the language of diversity, is that it's the work of a lifetime. It's hard to accept people who are not like you, who don't talk the way you do, or believe the things you believe, or dress or vote as you do. It's even harder to appreciate them for the things about them that are not like you, to find them interesting and fun, to enjoy the learning that's part of the experience, and to acknowledge, finally, that you may have to agree to disagree. The truth is this: if there is no justice, there will be no peace. We can read Thoreau and Emerson to one another, quote Rilke and Alice Walker and Howard Thurman, and think good and noble thoughts about ourselves. But if we cannot bring justice into the small circle of our own individual lives, we cannot hope to bring justice to the world. And if we do not bring justice to the world, none of us is safe and none of us will survive. Nothing that Unitarian Universalists need to do is more important than making justice real, here where we are. Hard as diversity is, it is our most important task. We now open ourselves in silent prayer or meditation to the source of our being and the guide of our spirit. Thank you for your presence. And now I will invite our guests to the podium.
My joyful siblings in this cosmic adventure, my fellow beloved breaths of the spirit and spark of life, I am so grateful to be here with you this morning. Is this better? Yes. Perfect. Please yell at me if I shy away from the mic. Can I ask how many folks are familiar with the first creation story of Genesis from the Hebrew scriptures and shared in Christian tradition? We show of hands, you can do Okay, yeah. As a trans person growing up in our Christianized culture and then later becoming Christian and now navigating ministry, at best, Genesis 1 used to raise a sense of awkwardness when I wasn't quite sure where I fit. And at worst, it spiked my anxiety and put me on the defensive as it was weaponized against queer folks, especially trans folks. However, I have found that use of Genesis is not only out of touch, but disingenuous. We've been lied to as just beneath the surface lies a message not only of our world's beautiful diversity, but our ever-continuing creation. When God began to create the heavens and the earth was complete chaos and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light and saw that it was good, and separated that light from the darkness, calling the light day and the darkness night. The light was separated from the darkness, and yet we still hold close the beauty of sunsets. We greet the newness of light in each dawning morning, these places where the light not only meets the darkness, but stretches out and embraces it, lingering and fleeting at once, a rainbow neither can form alone. And God said, "Let there be a dome in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from waters." So God made the dome and separated the waters that were under the dome from the waters that were above the dome. God called the dome sky, and there was evening and there was morning, the second day. And God said, Let the waters under the sky be gathered together into one place. Let the dry land appear. And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together God called the seas. God saw that it was good. Dry land was pulled forth from the waters of the sea, yet we splash joyfully, abundantly in the borders where they meet along coastlines, estuaries, marshlands, ebbing and flowing, entwining their fingers, morphing into something not quite dry land and not quite sea, something unique. And God said, let the lights of the dome in the sky separate the day from the night, and let there be signs for seasons and days and years. And let the lights in the dome of the sky give light upon the earth. And it was so. God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser to rule the night, and the stars. God set them in the dome of the sky to give light upon the earth and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. The lingering light of the moon was pulled forth from the great light of the sun. Not only do we know now that the moon is a reflection, a transformation of the sun's light, but people travel thousands of miles to marvel at the times where the sun and the moon meet, even when ever so fleeting, even risking our eyesight that we might catch a glimpse. And God said, let the waters bring forth swarms of living creatures, let birds fly above the earth and the dome of the sky. So God created the great sea monsters and every living creature that moves of every kind, with which the waters swarm, and every winged bird of every kind. And God saw that it was good. God said, let the earth bring forth living creatures of every kind, cattle and creeping things, wild animals of the earth of every kind. And it was so. God made the wild animals of the earth of every kind, and the cattle of every kind, and everything that creeps upon the ground of every kind. And God saw that it was good. The creatures of the land were formed distinct from the creatures of the sea and the birds of the air, and yet those are creatures that transgress these bounds. Amphibians who move from sea to land as tadpoles grow, birds who do not know the thrill of flight except the buoyancy of water, mammals that take flight or live their lives in the water. Then God said, let us make humans in our image, according to our likeness. So God created humans in God's image. In the image of God, they created them. Male and female, they created them. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. My dear friends, the spark, the spirit, the divine wisdom that calls to all of us in our deepest hearts made humans according to their image. They formed us from dust. But tell me why we have the audacity to think that this is the one binary here in Genesis that was meant without blurring the lines in between, without calling us to transgress these man-made boundaries and boxes and binaries. Indeed, how can we ever believe those who call my trans siblings abomination when these liminal niches in Genesis are the very things we observe with bated breath? Sights as sunsets and marshlands, and those we see glimpses of the divine through these places where the veil is thin. In Matthew 19:12, Jesus tells his disciples, for there are eunuchs who have been so from birth, and there are eunuchs who have been made eunuchs by others, and there are eunuchs who have been made themselves eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. Let anyone accept this who can. Eunuchs played a unique role in the times, often going unmarried and traversing both male exclusive and female exclusive spaces, moving between them. Likewise, Jesus also blurred binaries of clean and unclean, Jew and Gentile, leader and lawbreaker. As I've navigated my transition and my trans identity through many seasons of my faith in a backdrop of many different faith communities, it's become clear to me as much as anything, my experience of gender queerness and transition have been a process of call, one of vocation, a conversation with the spirit of life that flows through me as I have discerned how I am called to live openly, proudly, joyfully trans, all for the sake of the kingdom, for the kingdom of heaven. And I'm called to help others accept whatever that call looks like in their own lives, whether that be a call to gender-affirming transition or any of the other myriad ways that living into one's most authentic, most genuine, most alive self might look. To say God doesn't make mistakes in the face of trans truth is to place a suffocating period where creation, our world's great breath, our former and reformer, has simply paused to breathe. It is to assume that creation is a static thing, that creation is somehow final and complete, as if our world could ever be final and complete in its complexity. That the divine can be safely put in a box that simply asks us to play a scripted role in the finalized, publicated work of creation. Creation is ever alive in the erotic liminality that is becoming, for we are always becoming, forming and reforming ourselves in each moment, dancing in collaboration with the one who coaxes us forward, and the courage to live dangerously free into who we might become. My friends, to be made in the image of the divine's own likeness is to be made in the image of multiplicity and fluidity. To be made in the image of creation is to always be changing, to always be growing. The seasons are forever in flux, one ebbing so that another may flow. The flowers bloom and fall back. Stone gives way over time to the shaping of water. Trees layer ring after ring as they carry their history inside themselves. And perhaps nowhere is this becoming made more explicit, lived more intimately than in the faith lived out of the lives of trans folks each day. The faith that calls each of us to respond, the faith that the call each of us responds to in our heart is true. That we are to take up the task of subduing the earth to make it fruitful, often within our own bodies. Transition is creation in the most explicit of action, a means of counteracting destruction and desolation and hopelessness by leaning into the creation of congruence between who we are and who we are becoming in our own selves, sometimes our own bodies. The trans sci-fi author and occasional theologian Julian K. Jarboe put it as such: God blessed me by making me transsexual for the same reason God made wheat but not bread and fruit but not wine, because God wants humanity to share in the act of creation. I am only doing good works here on earth as intended. While it may be especially evident in the lived witness of trans folks, each breath each of us draw is an active moment of living into the vocation that lives deep within us, written in our heart that we are called into the courage to live, that we might in turn grant another person the divine permission to live their own vocation, their own most free and thus most beautifully dangerous selves in a world that wishes to neatly contain us, to control us, to tell us that our creation is static, complete, and set in stone. This morning, each of us awoke to a new day of possibility, a new series of opportunities to engage in the co-creation of our own selves, to recreate our own selves, to be able to choose to live more deeply into who we are now and who we are becoming in our hearts. What that looks like is different in each and every one of us here. And in each and every breath we draw is another opportunity to live into that call. Who do we want to be as individuals? Who do we want to be together as a community? What are the steps we take together in that becoming? In this season of my life, becoming looks in my physical body like my weekly testosterone injections, looking with giddy excitement for each new change in my body, budding patchy facial hair, deepening voice, the slight changes of my face. But it also looks like recognizing and accepting and accommodating that I live with physical and learning disabilities. In my social and emotional life, it also looks like challenging myself to learn and act in true, risky solidarity with Indigenous, Black, Palestinian, and other affected communities here in Wenatchee and throughout the world. Yesterday, it looked like the Decolonization for Transformation training alongside many folks in this room with author Sarah Augustine. When we live fully into our becoming, we give others the freedom to become their own fullest self. Becoming is joyful and freeing, but it also requires risk. Who would you be if you weren't afraid? Who would we be if we weren't afraid? Can we envision that? And then the next key question is, even if we're afraid? Can we do it scared? Can we do it scared anyway? Can we become a people, a community that supports, empowers, and accompanies one another to be brave in our own becomings? When we live fully into our becoming, we give others the freedom and courage to live into their own authentic selves. When we do this together, we give each other the support, accompaniment, the courage, and the excitement to live our own risky becomings, even scared, and again, even if we are afraid. My beloved shared breath of life, Genesis is alive in this room. It is alive in the beating of your heart. It is alive within the beating of the heart next to you, reaching ever outwards into the adventure of becoming that lies ahead in each of us, for all of us. And I ask you to take a deep breath with me as we breathe in the possibility and breathe it in together. I hope you are willing to take my hand and join me in the beautiful adventure and beautiful risk of becoming together. Thank you.
So come on up and share a little bit about your program. Thanks.
Thank you so much for contributing to Triple Point and allowing me to share what it is and what we do. It's the best thing ever. Triple Point is a support program for LGBTQ plus youth and their families. When I took it over last year, we had a census of 4. We have a census of 33. So we offer virtual groups, tween groups, a teen group, and I'm also available 5 days a week via phone and email for families, caregivers, community members that work with 2S LGBTQ plus youth or queer youth who want to be better allies, who have questions that they don't really want to ask a 10th grader. I am available. Absolutely everything that Triple Point does is cost-free. We are funded by a grant, private donations, my pocket, and a positive attitude. And all of the donations that come to Triple Point go directly back into our program, our communities, and the things that we do. I've got business cards in the back. I can't stop talking about this thing. If you have any questions, anything, let me know. I will give you a whole soliloquy. Thank you so very, very much. It is the biggest privilege in the world to live and work in a community that has so many places like CUUF that want to help us keep doing the right thing. Thank you.
In the name of Providence, which implants in the seed the future of the tree and in the hearts of people, the longing for people living in human love, in the name of the highest, in whom we move and who makes the parents, the siblings what they are, in the name of sages and great religious leaders who sacrifice their lives to hasten the coming of peace and justice, let us renew our resolution sincerely to be real family, regardless of any kind of bar which estranges one from another. In this holy resolution, may we be strengthened knowing that we are God's family, that one spirit, the spirit of love, unites us, and may we endeavor for a more perfect and more joyful life. Amen. Now, as we extinguish our chalice, please join me in saying the words printed in your order of service or up on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now let us circle up for our closing song.
We